Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell, so glad you could join us. Fun show today. We are minus Herman Moore. Don't know where he is today. It's okay. He's off on special assignment. He's actually working for the government. It's a secret. We're not supposed to know. We're actually not even supposed to say that. But he can't talk about it. He's off doing down and dirty stuff for the federal government. But the show goes on. Joining me today, as always on Thursdays, is none other than the zone coach, the man who can help you lock into your brain and get you working for yourself instead of against yourself. And he's been doing it for 50 years with some of the greatest of all time in all sports, in all facets of life. He's my dear friend. Always so happy to have Jim on the show. Jim, welcome to the show. How are you on this beautiful Thursday?
I am down and dirty, ready to roll.
Ooh,
It's good to see you. Yeah,
I like it.
there's so much going on.
I know there really is, and I want to get into all of it. I don't even. I know where I'm going to start. I don't know why I'm going to start here, but could you help me explain Shohei Ohtani to me? To me, he's the most fascinating player in maybe all of sports, just because of um, his ability to go against the grain. He's a hitter, he's a pitcher, and he's amazingly good at both. And it just doesn't happen in sports today with so much specialization. And you got to be on one side of the ball, or you're either a defender, or you're a pitcher, or you're a hitter, and you can't do both at a high level. And he to me is my favorite player, I think, in all of sports. And we haven't really talked about this, and I want you to explain to me Shohei Ohtani.
Well, first of all, he's extremely disciplined, as a performer. I mean, extreme discipline. But if you look at the picture right now on the screen, he's not only disciplined and can lock in on both sides of the plate. This guy's loose. I'm certain that his breathing is under 10 breaths a minute. There was a situation last night where he was facing Francisco Lindor in the game, and it was a war. It went like 14 pitches, and Lindor was fouling them off. And then Sohei threw, and he'd been throwing breaking balls, and then he just threw it like 99. It was a little off the plate, and Lindor wasn't sitting on that particular pitch. And they both laughed. They were both in that battle, and Ohtani had the smile that you're seeing on the screen. And most athletes can't do that, be relaxed and enjoy the moment. Yeah. And I think that's one of Ohtani's special gifts, that he can do that. So he is a zone performer. I mean, he's throwing 99, 98. He has a split finger that looks like the 98, 99 fastball, and then the bottom drops out. He's got a nasty slider. He's got like 6 pitches, and he uses them whenever. And anyway, that unto itself is amazing. Now, last night, for whatever the reason, he elected not to play offense.
Yeah.
And he had 10 strikeouts, so it sounds like that was probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And but then on offense, there's not many power leadoff hitters. There are some, obviously, and there have been many that have been like that. But he's not only a great leadoff hitter, he not only can steal when he's on base, but if you make a mistake, he's going to hit it out. So left-handed hitter. Great plate discipline. As I said, he's got pitching discipline, plate discipline. He's managing the moment. And he's one of these unique guys that he's really using both sides of his brain. I mean, he's got the right side, which is very, creative and taps into the zone. And, he's got a feeling he can sit on a pitch because his intuition says it. And then he uses the left side that says, no, stay within my lane and be really disciplined, patience, and all that. So he's a zone performer, if there ever was one.
So it's hard enough to do one. My goodness. I need to find my voice. I need to get in the zone in my voice. it's hard to find one, right? To do one well. I mean, to hit well. I mean, you talk about one of the greatest feats in all of sport. The most challenging thing to do is hit a baseball. But being able to be a dominant pitcher, an effective pitcher, a winning pitcher, in and of itself is no small feat. Can you just tell people like how hard? Because you point out he smiles, he makes it look effortless, he makes it look easy. This is not easy to do this, and yet he does both so well, and it's just so impressive. Can you just explain how freaking hard this actually is?
It's very difficult. Most of us, 8 billion on the planet, all of our thoughts, 2 or 3,000 thoughts a day, they're in this big bouillabaisse soup where, you're driving to work and you're thinking about that. And then you think about something else. So you hear something on the radio. So, we bounce around. And so I'm in my baseball, but I have thoughts maybe coming in about the argument I had with my wife. Ohtani, I believe, compartmentalizes what he's doing. So when he's pitching, he's pitching.
Yeah.
But then when you go into the dugout, what does a pitcher do? Typically, between innings, he's running in to look at his possibly what happened and talk to the coach about the next 3 guys coming up. It's real quick. It's not a lot. And he does that. Most guys that are, and if he's hitting, he won't do it as much. But he's compartmentalizing, and I suspect to be I know to be a superstar, life needs to be compartmentalized. So if something goes wrong and on the mound, he doesn't take it into the batter's box. He doesn't drag it in. This compartmentalized is very unique. Most of us don't do it. I believe it's a 1%. It's the epitome of what I've been doing in my half-century career, is helping athletes and executives and everybody compartmentalize your thoughts. This will prevent the proverbial bad day. And Ohtani, he may not have a great day, but you don't see him having a bad day. So the superstar like this is just hitting a high daily standard in everything he does. But again, a starting pitcher has 4 days in between pitches. You can get nuts in those 4 days.
Right.
You can overthink everything. You can get too into the mechanics. You get fixated on, what happened. But Ohtani is compartmentalizing. And so when he's at the plate, he's the best hitter in the world. When he's on the mound, he's the best pitcher in the world. I think that's just how he rolls.
I wonder when you talk about those 4 days and going nuts, if not being able to hit kind of takes your mind off. It's like, I'm a better pitcher because I actually get to go hit in a game, and I have something else to focus on and kind of, ease my mind, or as you say, you kind of go into a different place, you compartmentalize, and so you're kind of focusing on a different thing, and we'll leave that pitching for another day. But right now, it's about the hitting.
It is. But the other thing he does, the great pitcher and the great hitter, they have routines.
Yeah.
I was in with some Red Sox yesterday in Minnesota. And the thing about the hitter, you can go 0 for 5, but the next game, you got 162 games. Pitching, you don't have near that many on starts. So the hitters are just next, next.
With Shohei, is he an anomaly, or is this something that people go, hey, wait a minute, we might be onto something here? He certainly bucked a trend that's been going on in Major League Baseball. What was the last player that actually was a two-way player? I mean, is it Babe Ruth, right? I mean, I kind of jokingly say that, but I just don't recall anyone like this. And so is it something, because we're sports is copycat, and it's like, are people looking for this, or even players growing up going, hey, wait a minute, everyone told me that I couldn't do both of these, and this guy's doing it. And Is there ever, is this potentially a trend, or is this just kind of a one-off? He's just a freak of nature.
He's a unicorn, in my
Yeah.
opinion. He's been doing this since the Little League. I don't think this is ho-hum for him. This is just how he rolls. But I suspect he can compartmentalize even away from the field, where, you don't really get a sense about his private life. You don't
Yeah.
hear a lot of things about it. The gambling thing, okay, that was a big deal, but still it was compartmentalized. So I think he lives in compartments, and he's present wherever he is. And to me, that's the ultimate way to live a life. You're not going to have
Yeah.
any negative days.
Yeah. I do. I think that's one of the things for me that I look at him and I just go, man, he just seems like he's having a good time. Like it's just he's just a carefree dude, and that just what a way to live your life. Okay.
I think he stays out of the past a lot. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think he
Yeah.
goes there. Definitely when he's playing.
All right. Moving on, because before we came on the air, you said I've been spending time with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Red Sox. Let's start with the Red Sox, only because we're still in baseball. I want to get into basketball. I want to get into the play-in stuff and all that. But so right now, tell me all you can. Give me the down and dirty about what's going on with the Red Sox without divulging, any trade secrets or some of that stuff. But where are the Red Sox in their head today?
They're actually, I'm sure a lot of fans won't believe this, but I believe they're in a great place. I mean, they had their 1 and 2 aces not perform very well against the Twins, and the Twins no one predicted them to do anything. They're in first place right now. The Twins, I watched the game. They're formidable, but you're not going to see their 2 aces give up 10 runs in the first 2 innings. And the other guy, Sonny Gray, gave up, I think, 5 or 6 runs. So, that happens. Crochet, that was the worst game ever. That's an anomaly. That's not going to happen. Those 2 guys are, they're studs at the top of a pitching lineup. The hitters, I'm not concerned about that either. It's early. They could be almost 500 after this weekend, but it's early. It's a long season, and then Alex Cora knows how to manage the mindset of the team, and he's a world expert at doing that. So they'll be fine. Everybody in Boston, I have total confidence in the Red Sox.
A bold statement, a down and dirty statement. They're in last place right now, but that doesn't mean anything. They're in first place in their own minds. Speaking of baseball, I wanted to ask you this question about the Dodgers. Last year, they spent a record amount of money on their payroll, in the tune of about $500 million. They're actually scheduled to spend more than that this year. And of course, they've won the last 2 World Series. Do you like this trend in baseball? Is it healthy for the league, for the sport? Does it make the Dodgers very hateable? Or, if you're a Dodgers fan, what is this massive spending? What's the impact does it have on teams, the league, and all of its fans?
It's kind of like our society right now. There's the haves and the have-nots, and it is the most expensive team. The Mets, when you look at the Mets payroll and the Dodgers payroll, that was a very expensive game last night. That series, it's the best defense money can buy. It's the best offense money it can buy, and arguably, it's just a great pitching staff. And is it good for the game? It's good to see great baseball. I mean, and how the game needs to be played, but it hurts the small. We're St. Louis. Of all the fans in baseball, and I'm not saying I'm a Cardinals fan. I'm from Chicago, so the Cubs fans would be pretty upset with me. But you look at a small market like St. Louis; these are the most knowledgeable fans on the planet. There's a sacrifice fly, and they're doing the wave. So They know the game well. They know the nuances. They cheer their team on, advancing a runner, taking the extra base. I just think the lack of money just hurts these small markets, which we love. I remember all the World Series for the Cardinals. I don't know how you compete with all the money. The small market clubs, the Milwaukee's, it also has formidable teams, St. Louis, and there's other small markets. So yeah, I don't think it's the best. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it just makes me so like uh, I don't know why I get this anxiety, and it's all sports. It's the NFL, it's all of it. It's like, and they are paying out so much freaking money in all of these sports. They're making so much money, and I want to say probably for maybe over a decade now. I've said, when does it stop? What is there ultimately an impact? Does it ever crash? Does it ever just go, oh my
Oh,
goodness?
first of all, it could, because right now the the union for baseball, the owners, they want a cap,
Yeah.
and
Well,
on the
even the players do.
yeah. If you look at the NFL, what a masterful job, the parity in the NFL.
Right.
It's like, who's the favorite? I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on who's healthy at the end of the season. But there's no Dodgers, Yankees in the NFL right now. They have that parity, and that makes it exciting. Jacksonville can go up against anybody and compete. And I don't know. I just think that makes every fan think, we got a shot, we got a
Yeah.
chance. The other small markets in baseball, which is a different power structure ownership wise. How do you compete with the Yankees? How do you compete? They got their own broadcasting, the Yes Network. They're now global. Look at Dodgers. They're Asia, global, Korea, Australia, obviously Japan. And yeah, it's tough to compete with. Whoever has the most money wins. Which
I
don't like that. I like the underdog to
yeah,
knock the Giants down.
totally. I was in Houston, Texas, and the Utah Jazz were playing the Houston Rockets, and we were down there kind of doing some stuff for the game, but we went to a Astros game, and they were playing the Yankees. And the Astros were just the whole game. They're just Justin Verlander was pitching. He was lights out. Like the Yankees were not doing. And there was a fan who stood up. This is in Houston, Texas. And clearly a lot of Astros fans. And this guy was a Yankees fan. And he'd stand up about every half inning and he'd yell that, "Let's go Yankees." Just that New York accent, just annoying, grovel, just horrible voice. Everyone wanted to throw beer on him. They wanted to get this guy booted out of this game. And he just very unapologetically was like, "I'm a freaking New York Yankees fan. We are everywhere. And let's go Yankees." And he yells this, right? And I remember sitting there going, "Dude, you're getting killed. Like, sit down, you bum." Right. So he's doing this, and Verlander leaves the game, and the Yankees come back and win the game. And this guy, then he was standing up, and it was like, and he was all by himself, but he basically just says, "It's me against the whole world. We're the Yankees. You can pitch Verlander all you want, but at the end of the day, we're the freaking Yankees, and we're gonna win." And he just owned it. And I hated the guy, and I didn't care. I was just watching the game. I didn't. But man, and I was like, that guy just has some kahunas. And but to me, that is the New York Yankees. It's their fan base. It's who they are. They are unapologetic. They're just amazing.
Let's talk about that guy. If the Yankees are doing poorly, that guy's going to go after the Yankees.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I coached a lot of Yankees, and it's great. But, it's one of those things where after the game, there's 40, 50 reporters at your locker. Milwaukee, right. There's 3, at your locker. And the ones in New York, they're asking you the same question, and it's brutal. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And yeah, it's tough. Some guys, they get these big contracts that go to the Yankees, and they just get swallowed up because the fans are truthful to a fault. Philadelphia, Boston, the same way. They love you or they'll hate you in the same game.
So I had an interesting experience in my life with the city of New York. So I grew up small town Utah, right? Never really traveled anywhere. Went to my aunt's house in Southern California, went to Disneyland. That was the excitement. That was the extent of my childhood traveling. We just never really went anywhere. And so I go in the NFL, and I was very uncultured to the world. Hadn't been in any big cities. New York City, like there's not a snowball's chance in hell I'm going to New York City, because it intimidated me. Like I was just like I was like, I don't want to I was literally afraid to go travel anywhere. And so I'm playing for the Miami Dolphins, and I have to go to New York City to get an examination with the doctor, right? Hospital special surgeries in downtown Manhattan, and I go to New York City. First time that I'm there on my own, and I'm in a hotel room, and I go to this place, and all of a sudden I just go start exploring New York City, and I'm like, this is a freaking awesome city. Like this is the coolest place in the world. And going to New York City as a young professional athlete who hasn't traveled anywhere changed my whole world. It totally changed like I was all of a sudden like, man, I'm freaking awesome. I've been to like I've traveled to New York City and actually got out on the streets and walked around. In my mind, it was the absolute most terrifying thing in the world. But when I went there and I experienced, and it changed, like my confidence level as a human being actually went up significantly. I've never told anyone this, by the way. We're divulging like secrets here. And but it changed everything for me. It changed my mindset. It just gave me a different kind of confidence, a different kind of curiosity that really has never subsided. I love going all over the world and seeing places, doing things, but it had a huge like the city of New York had a huge impact on me on just a short. I mean, I was there for like a day. I mean, I spent the night. I was there for a day. I mean, and then I've been back. Now I go to New York City often, and and shoot, I even get on the subway and drive around. The whole thing like doesn't scare me at all. But oh man, New York is a place.
It's well, I'm from Appalachia. First time I went to New York, I remember the movie. This is an old movie, Midnight Cowboy.
Right.
That was the bowels of New York. But walking around, I was like, what's happening? The noise level. Kentucky, there's no lights
Right.
or noise, and yeah. And if you can't find it there, they don't make it. So you can find anything. I remember going into a rare bookstore. I'm like, think about a hillbilly going into a rare bookstore, but how much is that? 35,000 for that book. I'm like, what? That was it's just pretty amazing. But for an athlete, if they love you,
Yeah.
wow, they're going to embrace you. And if they don't, you probably just want to stay in your hotel room or stay in your house. You don't want to go out. You'll get hammered by the checkout person at the grocery store giving you advice. I remember teaching Alex Rodriguez. I said, why would you do that? He goes, somebody told me that I was at some store and somebody said, you need to do this. So everybody's giving you technical advice, mental advice. And anyway, it's a great place.
Yeah.
Unless you're losing, and then it's not a great place.
It's hell. You mentioned, if they love you, and I'm fascinated with this Jackson Dart, right? He's this very gregarious type of young man. He wears his eye black, really funky and weird, and he's really, he's pushing the envelope, on style and even his game. He's a little bit reckless as a quarterback, I'm so fascinated and curious about watching him, because if he makes it, like he could be massively big there if all of his antics and everything, and he wins, he was a rookie last year, first round draft choice. And so, but like you talk about, I just can't see. It's either going to be this massive success or a horrible train wreck, but it's compelling, right? It's just something that you're going to want to watch for all the reasons we've talked about.
I thought Justin Fields, when he went to the Jets, I
Yeah.
thought he would own the city.
Yeah.
And but you're real, even though the city's so big, obviously, but you're in a bubble. So not everybody can handle that. I think when you look at Dart, though, New York likes brash. They like not a cookie cutter
Yeah.
kind of person. The Joe Namath guy. Obviously, New York embraces the guy that's got a different drummer playing in his mind.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hoping he'll do well. He's fun to watch. It's exciting.
Yeah,
and I
it'll
love
be
his post-game interviews.
Yeah, must see is for sure. Speaking of New York, at least Brooklyn, Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball, and we talk about money ruling the day, but this was a huge moment for Major League Baseball. An iconic player, an iconic situation. Tell me what your thoughts are on that and some of these traditions, remembering players like this and moments in Major League Baseball. Is it still meaningful? Is it do people understand what's the impact of Jackie Robinson today?
Well, that's a great question. It's still meaningful for my age group, and I think maybe the age group behind me. I think it's meaningful for the new kids. I don't think they understand, and it's hard to understand what he really went through. I mean, Jackie Robinson was an agent of change, and he did it without his voice. He did it without being brash.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali was also an agent of change for us in those tough times of segregation and all that. But he did it. I'm the greatest, which no one had really heard. He was really the first openly trash talker like that to the world. But Jackie Robinson did it, the old-fashioned way, with his feet and his hands and with his performance. And he had a lot of hate. That's an understatement. But you know what? If he complained, it must have been to his wife, because you don't hear excerpts of him, bitching and moaning and being a victim of his circumstance or being a judge of the situation he's in. You just didn't hear it. And so to do something that no one had ever done, to do it in a class way, it's just so special. It was a breath of fresh air to see the Dodgers Mets with every player having on number 42.
Yeah.
That was very special. But the young kids, I don't think they sense it, because I've asked them. I've asked the 21-year-olds, and I'm talking the young athletes. I don't think they understand how difficult a time he really had.
I was having this conversation with Herman Moore and about, like, who do young people remember in different sports, in baseball and football, and he brought up people like, do you know this guy? And and it's like, no, I've never heard of that guy.
But
They all know about the influencers, like someone who doesn't ever, but man, you tell them, they can tell you the top influencers in the world, and that's where all of the young people are, looking for their idols, their heroes. Their sports legends are not, they're some dude in his parents' basement.
You see all these, who's the best basketball player, and is LeBron or Jordan. And
Right.
you know who never shows up on those lists? Will Chamberlain. I'm like,
Right.
Are you kidding me? He changed everything. I mean, they were going to make a 12-foot basket. He's the one that changed the rule. He would be at the top of the key, and behind the free throw line, take a run and dunk his free throws. So when he first did that, everybody's like, that's not right. You can't dunk a free throw. and so they made that a rule, and so he changed everything. I mean, he was just a game changer. That was an agent of change. But the young kids don't put him on any of those lists. They don't. They'll put Dr. J. Okay, that was a playing above the rim. That was an agent of change. No one was doing that.
Right.
But my God, Wilt was averaging 50 points a game. He had 50 rebounds and I think 52 rebounds in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll never happen. I don't know. Maybe Joker's going to do something crazy like that. He's obviously a change agent because he leads. What center has led the league in assists and rebounds? Come on, that doesn't exist. So, yeah, there's a lot of agents of change, but they don't always make that list. Jerry West, agent of change. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming out. Lou Alcindor coming out. Yeah, the young kids, I don't think they go back in history and really understand how some of these guys were so great.
Well, you make a great point. And with Wilt, I mean, he's the only person who scored 100 points in a game, and people have gotten into 80, and they have a 3-point. It's a much more offensive minded game even today. And this was a center with not a 3-point line and scores 100 points. And I mean, that might be one of the most incredible feats in all of sports if we really sat down and talked about what that really was and how he was so dominant in what he did. But getting back to Jordan and LeBron, who is better? That's what who's better?
Okay. I saw every Michael Jordan game.
Yeah.
Every one. We'll leave it at that. I saw him in spring training with
baseball.
I was down there with the Bear, in the White Sox spring training game. I was with Frank Thomas and Robin Ventura and everybody. Here comes Jordan. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. I've never seen anything like Michael Jordan. LeBron's LeBron. LeBron's been doing it forever. LeBron's a different player than Jordan, but in terms of just pure clutch, winning, basketball, championships, I mean, Jordan's Jordan. To me, he's the greatest basketball in my lifetime that I've seen. And again, I saw all of his games. I had floor seats to his games when I was in town to get to see those. So, yeah, he never disappointed. Not that LeBron disappoints, but it's a different era. But to me, it's apples and oranges. It's Michael. I don't even why anybody's questioning it.
So, I am a long-suffering Utah Jazz fan, and he did push off against Brian Russell. And I hated Michael Jordan. Like I literally just hated him for that. Just tell him I'll call him later. So just let him know I'll give him a call back. Anyways, and I hated, but I always loved Michael. Like he was my favorite. Like I love Michael Jordan today. Like there's just something about him. My oldest sister worked for Nike in Oregon. And I went up and visited and went through, the whole campus and everything. And I think one of the coolest things I've ever seen was they have this display, and it's all the Air Jordans, and it's the prototypes. So it's the actual prototypes. It's not like a replica. It's like this is the mock-up shoe of every Air Jordan. They're pure white. They're all white. They don't have any color to them. They don't have any. And I go, how much is this worth? And she goes, I don't know if we can put a price tag on this. And, just the whole shoe thing with Jordan, like he's invented a culture and he's so far removed from playing, but still this shoe brand and this whole thing has just driven Nike into in a crazy place. But that was one of the coolest things I ever saw, where all the prototypical Jordan shoes.
Well, talk about changing the game, and every kid, had to have those shoes, and now every young player, wants to have his own shoe.
Yeah,
which they're starting out. They're building a shoe for a guy in college. The guy in Arkansas, he's going to have his own shoe, and he hadn't even been in the pros yet. So yeah, it's pretty iconic. The one thing about Jordan, and there's a few players right now. Even the visiting team or even when Jordan was on the road, you expected him to make those shots.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of players, you're not sure if they're going to make it. You believe Jordan made every last second shot. Well, in fact, he missed lots of last second game losing shots. And, he missed them. You don't remember those. You always expect it. And Curry has done the same thing. He's been injured. He comes back. Playoff game last night, one and done. Think about it. We lose, we're in Cabo, on vacation. And here comes Curry, makes a game-winning, game-changing three-pointer, drops 35 points, hadn't been playing, moving like crazy. You just expect him to make those threes, even the opposition. Oh my God, here it is. You expect him to make it. So
what do you bring up Jordan, and there's kind of even the visiting team. There's some great vintage clips of Larry Bird. In fact, he was talking trash to the Houston Rockets bench in a game, and he told them what he was going to do, and he did it. And they are all just dying laughing, and the coach finds the players on the bench because they're commiserating with Larry Bird, and of course there's nothing they could do against it. And I remember, this is one of those moments in your life kind of thing. My rookie year, I just get drafted by the Miami Dolphins. I show up to the facility, I walk into the locker room, and across the room walks Dan Marino, right? Never met him. He doesn't even know who I am. He doesn't care who I am. He's just being, he's just in his native state, he's just in the locker room. And I remember like literally being starstruck by this the first time. I'm just like, holy cow, that's Dan Marino. Like, he's a real person. Like, he's in the locker, like he's walking towards, like, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know, and you're just all tongue tied and everything. And you just give this kind of, hey, just a little nod, like, hey, and that's it. It's not like, hey, like there's no introduction, there's no handshake, there's no nothing, and it took a long time for me to get over my starstruckness of one of my teammates. Like, it's just one of your teammates, but there was something about him. It was just different. And then I got where it was like, okay, this is Dan Marino. It's just normal. And I would go to these they had this quarterback club. And so they'd have the events, they do the quarterback challenge, and they throw the footballs at the moving targets and all this stuff. And so now I'm around all of the NFL quarterbacks. They're all there, right? And they're all amazing in their own right. But at that point, my mindset's different. Look, I've been to New York City, and I have all the confidence in the world now. I'm a world traveler. I'm a starting quarterback in the NFL, and I go to this event, and I see Dan. I'm like, yeah, so I'm super friend. It's like, good to see all this stuff. But I watched all the other quarterbacks, and all the other quarterbacks. These are the guys, right? And all of them are having this reaction to Marino. They're like, holy cow, that's Dan Marino. And you could see there was this respect, there was this reverence there, and it was one of the most fascinating things to watch, because I was like, I know how you all feel. Like, that's how I felt when I, this player. And I don't know what it is, but there are just certain people, certain athletes that just have this aura. Like, it's a thing. It's a real thing.
I'm in spring training with Michael, like I mentioned, and I'm sitting there waiting to meet another one of my clients. I'm in this big cavernous locker room, spring training. Michael Jordan's playing baseball now, left basketball. And there's a lot of noise. There's a ping pong game. There's some country music, some salsa music. It's just a lot of things happening. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of leaning up against the wall waiting on someone. And all of a sudden, the whole room went quiet. It's kind of like the silence or quiet before a hurricane,
Yeah.
And I'm looking around going, oh, what's going on? And then the door opens and Mike walks in, and everybody The ping pong game stopped. They turned and looked at him. He puts this big smile because he's obviously done that to a zillion people before.
Right.
And then the room just went back. And I'm like, his energy came into the room before he physically did. I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw Tiger do that in 2000. I saw Bjorn Borg do that in the 70s. And you're right. When a guy has honed his craft and has the high standard that he owns, and he carries it with him all the time, and he doesn't talk a lot. Marino didn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
Marino didn't trash talk. You know that better than me. Not that I remember. He was in his own little bubble, wasn't he? His own little cocoon.
Well, yeah, but it was a fierce like it was funny because he would scream and yell, like
Jordan too. Jordan,
yeah,
would
yeah,
cuss out Pippen and everybody.
right, yeah, and that was because he was just so locked in, and he was just like, and it's like you have to be on my level, like, so you don't drop the ball, and you do this, and you make sure and if you did, you heard it, like you heard it, and he tells stories. They're playing the Rams just before I got to the Dolphins, and he goes, we were down by 3 touchdowns, and he said he got in the huddle and he just looked at he says, I'm not running the ball another time in this game. We're going to throw this football every down until we come back and win this game. And he goes, and we did. and he goes, we just stopped. I mean, they stopped running it, in general with the Dolphins when Marino showed up, and there was no running game in Miami. And Shula goes, why? Why would I take the ball out of Dan Marino? Like, I'm not stupid. He's like, I got this. I'm gonna write it. But yeah, there was fierceness. Oh my goodness.
That's the mark of someone like a Shula who, most of these coaches are old school, maybe some new school wrinkles, but with the new offenses and all that. But when you see a coach find that unicorn and then adjust his coaching around that, you had not just a great quarterback, you had a great coach managing that great quarterback, and the great coach can manage him with silence, but when he does talk, it's meaningful. I'm sure they had the one-on-ones with Shula and Marino, but there's that symbiotic relationship between a great coach and a great player that's really special.
It's interesting you bring this up and about Marino. And so, Shula retires, and then in comes Jimmy Johnson, who's Hall of Fame coach. And Jimmy Johnson didn't like Troy Aikman. Here's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Here's a guy that's brought you to multiple Super Bowl wins, and he's not sure of Troy Aikman for a long time. And Troy Aikman actually had to go and kind of go to Jimmy's house and go, hey, coach, they had to kind of have a come to Jesus time. And Marino and Jimmy Johnson did not get along. And Jimmy Johnson was kind of like, I don't care who Dan Marino is and that, this and that, whatever. And Jimmy Johnson kind of in his own great ego said, I have better solution. And, Jimmy Johnson, as great as he was, I don't know that he really took the great players that he had and maybe made the very best out of them or really saw that. And I know it's a bold statement right there, but I don't know that, because there was a lot of friction with Marino. They never had success there as far as playoff success, winning, and there was certainly that friction that didn't exist. There was friction with Shula, but that was just normal stuff. But Shula let Marino be Marino. And I'm not sure Jimmy Johnson, maybe did that as well. And even though he was a good coach, he's a Hall of Fame coach, deserves all that and whatever. But I, wonder if he really would have maybe embraced that concept a little bit more had he been even more successful. I don't know. But I just, when you said that, it just, for some reason that popped into my head.
I have no comment on that situation that you're talking about, but how many coaches have mismanaged a unicorn like talent where someone else could have taken that guy to the stratosphere, but this is my way or the hard, it's my way or no way. And you've had coaches, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's my way or the highway. We're doing it how I want to do it. It's my system, plug into my system. And today that's very difficult because the young kids growing up, with no names mentioned, but there's a star in the league that in the 5th grade was flying private with his grade school team around the country.
Wow.
Privately. I know this for a fact. He's a star now in the league,
Yeah.
but he's been entitled since he was in the 5th grade because one of my coaches actually played against him. I said, "What was that like?" And he goes, "We were like little munchkins playing this." I think he was shaving in the 5th grade. It was really terrifying. How'd y'all do it? I go, I don't think I don't know. We got killed.
Yeah.
But then we saw that they flew private. So the entitlement of the young athlete, that's oil and water now with some coaches. You look at a superstar like Ja Morant, and
Mhm.
it was like, oh my gosh, he's the next great
Yeah.
thing. And who's managing that guy? Who's the coach that can look at him and go, stop doing that? But all the entitlement, all the money. Look at college, Kentucky basketball. We're not happy. We're not look, I got on Kentucky blue. Duke people don't hate me. That's okay. We hate you, so it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, $22 million was paid to my beloved Kentucky, and that's all we got. I thought we could get bounced in the first round. It was like 20. Where did the money go? Who are we paying? There's so much money in kids, college kids, and it's hard to talk to them. The coach is talking to him. He's not a millionaire necessarily, but the player, the college guy's a millionaire already. It's really the upside down sports we're in.
Yeah.
Because of money.
I want to go back to the shaving in the 5th grade. You never beat someone who shaves in the 5th grade. It just doesn't happen. It's like when you're a young kid, for people out there, our female audience, there's a rite of passage. You're just a better athlete. You're a better human being if you're shaving in the 5th. That's how we monitor manhood. When you're and I can myself. Oh man, I can't wait to shave. All my friend, everything now. That was the thing. And I did have a friend and he was dominant, and he was because he was shaving. That kid shaved like that's the greatest weapon you can have in youth sports is a shaver. You can't beat a shaver.
And beat a shaver. I can remember a kid in Little League. He was on the mound. He threw it seemed like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah,
but he had that afternoon shadow. He's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you beat that guy?
Speaking of basketball, Ja Morant, you mentioned you've been with the Timberwolves. Of course, Rudy Gobert, former Jazz, is and he was a big trade. Really felt like he was going to move the needle. Anthony Edwards, maybe on the verge of being the best player in the NBA. Is he a guy that can do that? It was interesting. He only made 65 games, so he's not eligible for any postseason awards. But kind of where are the Timberwolves? And they're one of those teams. I kind of feel like they're going to make a big move in the playoffs this year.
Well, they've got a formidable task to go to Denver. I think Denver's favored 5.5 points, which is quite a lot. It's going up against Joker, who's averaging a triple-double. That's, formidable. Yeah. But you're right. Anthony, the Ant-Man, he's a unicorn. He's special. Rudy is just a defensive stalwart. He'll give Joker everything he can, but that's an understatement because Joker is just at the top of the game. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great series. There's a whole bunch of great series really that's going to happen. And I think it's going to be a great NBA. I think it's going to be kind of open. I mean, OKC, great. San Antonio, Wemby, that's an unknown, but that's going to be great. It's going to be a fun NBA.
So you mentioned Steph Curry. They win their playing game. The NBA is trying to keep the league competitive. You talk about the NFL and so many teams are in the hunt late in the year. There have been wild card teams that have won Super Bowls in the NFL. Is that the case in basketball? Is this just kind of an exercise in futility with these kind of, I don't know, 7 through 10 teams that are fighting, and you want to make sure you're at least at 6 so you don't have to deal with this mess? But do they really care, or are they just like going through the motions? Or I mean, I know Steph cared clearly, but how do they feel like, I guess, they can win a championship, and do they really put forth their best effort with these last few teams getting into the playoffs?
I think they all believe that. I
Yeah.
really do. I think.
Okay.
Do they expect it? No, there's a big difference between believing something and expecting, and then there's another level above that. Is no, I know it. I know we're going to kick their butts. Uh, I, who knows who's going to win? I mean, Boston, you thought they didn't have a chance with now Tatum's back. Detroit, we'll see about Cade Cunningham. Will he get back? So it depends on who's healthy, really, right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's wide open. I guess OKC has to be a favorite, but Joker, Denver, who knows? You can, any of these teams can get hot, and with the 3-point line, you get hot, knock in a lot of threes, shoot 40-50% from 3 line. You can beat anybody on any given night. So I think there is some parity in the NBA. I'm not as much parity, it seems, in baseball. And there's a lot of parity in the NFL. And that's what makes it exciting in the NFL, because, you think your home team has a shot.
How about hockey? So the Utah Mammoth, they're our home team. They made the playoffs this year. And what I get, the reason I asked this is because a year ago, I'm talking to the hockey people and they go, look, the Mammoth aren't going to make the hockey. They're close. They're going to be close this year, but they're not going to make it. And they were right. They were close. I mean, they almost made the playoffs. They go, now next year's the year. They're going to make the playoffs. And they do. And they did. And you're almost like, well, how do y'all know this? Like, because it feels like hockey might be the most predictable of all of these sports per se. And there's some funny things, like, you get crazy bounces, you get a puck off the post, you get a glancing shot, something that ricochets off of someone's skate or whatever and goes into, I mean, some crazy things, but it feels like hockey is very predictable. Am I off my rocker here? Am I, skating on thin ice? What's going on with, do you like the thin ice thing right there? Anyways, can the Mammoth win it all? Because they got to play the Western Conference, division later.
Yeah, I coached a lot of hockey. I think the key there, give me a goalie.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Give me my goalie.
Yeah.
It's like in every sport. I think Wimbiana said it really well. Don't forget, defense is half the game. This is being spoken by the guy that's averaging 3 blocks a game. So defense wins. Give me a goalie. Soccer, give me a goalie. Give me a goalie. We're at least going to be okay. He may be battered and bruised when it's over, but he's not going to let the game get away from us.
Yeah, it's fascinating with the NFL. As offensive as it is, as offense as they want it to be, they've tainted the rules. They've geared it towards offense. It's been defenses that have done well in the playoffs. You got the Houston Texans, Seattle, great on defense. Denver, really good on defense. The Patriots, all these teams are, it was a defensive showcase in the playoffs in the NFL. And so, yeah, it's a great point. And I think of the Golden Knights, they're this brand new franchise. They go off and win a Stanley Cup, with phenomenal goalie play and very unexpected. So that's my hope. Goalies got to get hot for the Mammoth, because they got to win. That's all it is. Now,
in the playoffs, defense rules in the playoffs. Everybody's a little uptight. No one's loose, and no defense, no winning.
It's almost like the players go, okay, the season's long. Defense is all about effort. It's really about, it's a mindset. these guys are all extremely talented athletes. They're certainly capable of playing great defense. And I think they see, hey, this is the end of the season, it's like, so I might as well just put on my defensive happy face and go give it some effort on both ends of the court. And I know the kind of impact that it'll have. I'm sure that plays into it to some degree, because it always changes. They always go, yeah, the different mindset, it's a different intensity than in the regular season. And I'm sure it plays into it.
Like the NBA, right now, teams are working on defending the pick and roll.
Yeah.
It's a pick and roll league, and there's not going to be run and gun in the playoffs. So it'll be slowed down a little bit, but they're going over the defense a lot. The offense, yes, they'll go over that, but defending the pick and roll, defending the three ball, everybody knows the role. Everybody on a great team stays in their lane. And that, of course, the coach is the band leader who's trying to get the horn section going, the drum section, and he's the chemist that's pulling it all together. But they're practicing all those little nuances right now in defense. So, again, defense rules.
They shouldn't call it the pick and roll. They should call it the Stockton and Malone, because those were the absolutely perfect people to run a pick and roll. Because the guy that's doing the, that sets it up, the guard, has to be a phenomenal passer and has to see and read the defense and deliver, because you gotta deliver the ball if you're going to hit the roll side of this, or if you're going to kick it to someone else. And so Stockton he was a maestro at that. And you've got Karl Malone, who's just, he's built like a brick house, and that guy setting a screen. But then then you roll to the basket. Like who more do you want to roll to the basket, than Karl Malone? And
it was pretty unstoppable. Really,
they changed the franchise with that their whole offense. So yeah, okay. I've got one last question for you, and it's related to the World Cup. And one of the things that we've seen about all-star games, about these competitions between different countries, they bring out a different passion, a different attitude, like we can't lose for our country kind of thing. You saw the Four Nations in hockey and the World Baseball Classic and all this stuff.
What
just
a great,
phenomenal, right?
Classic, World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So exciting. So you got World Cup coming to North America. Of course, there is conflict in the world. There's a lot of, like we don't even like Canada, right? Right now, it's like, how can you not like Canada? Every Canadian I know, and I love Canada, I love Canadians, and but we don't even and they don't like us. Like it makes me feel, it's like, how can you get Canadians mad, right? It's just I don't even know that it was possible. I didn't know they had that gene, right?
I totally agree. I love Canadians. Yeah. I've had more fun coaching in Canada than much anywhere, really.
So you got the World Cup coming. What is it going to be like? Are you going to see even more of this,
I think,
effort, or is it just going to be what it normally is, or is there a heightened kind of tension or angst, and maybe some craziness that might go on with all these countries at war with each other?
Oh, I really think the war thing will be, in terms of the players, that I don't think the players are even thinking about anything like that. That's a great question, but soccer fans have had that passion in their country, so they're just being themselves. They're not bringing anything, of course, a little bit extra because it's such a big moment. We'll see how it's going to play out. Hopefully, there's not a lot of ICE agents arresting lots of people. But I think that bothers me about the World Cup is money. That bothers me.
Yeah.
There's a article today that in New Jersey, it's to ride from Penn Station out to the Mets, stadium is $12.90 one way. What's the big deal, right?
Yeah.
But they need security because there's so many people going to come out. So the governor said, well, we're not going to pay that. And we're going to have to charge $100 to ride the same bus or subway. Wow. That was $12.90. We're now going to charge $100. All the prices are going to go up. How much is a hot dog? It'll be $32, please. Oh, you want a beer? Yeah. So
take out a mortgage.
Take out a mortgage. That's the one thing that the average person just can't go to some of these games. Right. That's unfortunate, really. It's a TV world we're in. That's where the big money. But to go to here I am in Minnesota. I'm watching it's 72 degrees, and I'm just sitting there going, wow. There's no place I'd rather be than where I am right now, in the moment, no future, no past, just locked in. And families, that's great. Are a lot of families going to go to the World Cup where a dad can take his kid? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be corporate dishing out tickets. So that's the only thing that bothers me about some of these big events, that the average fan just can't do it.
I agree. And the sad thing is they're going to get the money for it. People are going to pay it because they're going to go. I mean, it's just, that's the sad part about it. Always a pleasure, Jim. And what a great conversation today. Really enjoyed it. You are the best. Hey, everyone out there, go check out zonecoach.com and you can become a world champion in your mind. Seriously, I'm just telling you, it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind to go get an assessment and be coached by the best in the business. I encourage you, whatever it's relationships, it's business, it's sports, it's all this stuff. The Zone Coach does it. So have a great day, Jim. And thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Stay in the zone and stay down and dirty.
Oh, yeah. All right. The Down and Dirty will return here in a minute. We got some hot headlines for you right around the corner. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell, so glad you could be a part of the show today. Of course, we had none other than the Zone Coach, Jim Fannin, join us. What a fun conversation. Just, oh, man, if you missed that part of the show, go back and listen to it because it was good. It was really good. Oh, it was yummy. It was down and dirty is what it was. So, again, we appreciate you being a part of our day and like, subscribe, do all that stuff. All right, hot headlines, which is segment we do on the show. That's what we're going to do right now. We look at some of the highlights of what's happening in the world of sports that move our needle, and we kind of talk about it, give our little take on the hotness. Why is it hot? Because we don't want cold takes. Although there are times, there are places when there's nothing like a cold leftover. So some cold headlines every once in a while. I remember actually when I was I was younger. You know how they have fusion, right? So they basically the atomic bomb, and it was like hot, right? And so apparently at my alma mater, the University of Utah, they invented cold fusion, which I don't know how I don't even know if it even exists today. Maybe Martin could look up, is cold fusion a thing in the world today? And maybe Martin can report on that for me at some point during the show to just say, yeah, cold fusion's not a thing. Anyways, we have hot headlines. We're going to talk about them. None other than the hottest of headlines. Of course, a report came out with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The love you blue, the Dodgers, all that stuff. I grew up being a big Dodgers fan, still a Dodgers. I'm just a baseball fan in general. I like a lot of teams in baseball. I remember, I love George Brett back when Kansas City won a few world titles. Maybe they won one anyways. So I loved the Kansas City Royals back in the day. Loved believe it or not, the Astros. I've loved the Yankees. Of course, my all-time favorite player, Dale Murphy with the Atlanta Braves, center fielder, number 3. A lot of debate on whether he should be in the Hall of Fame. Of course he should be in the Hall of Fame. What's wrong with you people? Anyways, Dale Murphy was one of my favorite players growing up in the Braves. The Cubs, Ryan Sandberg when he played for the Cubs, and of course Kerry. Anyways, the Dodgers are making headlines. The Dodgers spent a record $515 million in 2025. We had a bit of a conversation with this earlier with Jim Fannin, and I get so nervous with the spending that goes on in baseball. I get nervous with the kind of, and this is an interesting development that's happened over the course of time, where the players union, right? The players union has been very strong in baseball. And my opinion as to why is because these players play for a long time. You don't see turnover in you get 20 plus careers out of these baseball players. You don't see a lot of turnover. It's really hard to break into the majors. It's really hard to, make it in the league because there's so many players and so many different, AAA, AA, all that stuff. And there's only so many spots, and it's just really hard to really make it. So the union has strength because the players are knowledgeable and they're also very unified in their decisions and how they negotiate with management. Whereas in the NFL, it's like the average career is 3.5 years. It's actually 3.1 years. So it doesn't have the same longevity. Players don't, because you're a young kid, you get into a professional sport, you don't really know anything. You've always thought about your sport as, well, this is just fun, and then you realize it's a business, and so play by different rules, and so it's been good for the player, because they've got these incredible salaries, they've done all these things, and now they're in a position where they go, hold on, because who gets hurt in all of this are the smaller market teams. They're the teams that don't have the big paychecks, don't have the, and so some of the, so you're starting to see a trend where you're wiping a lot of the competition off the face of the earth. They just can't compete. Yeah, they can have a team, they can, and they got great fan bases, places like St. Louis and some of these other places, but they just don't have the wealth, they don't have the dollars, they don't have the ability to go and compete. And the players go, I want to go to a winner, I want to get paid, so it's hard not to take advantage of this. But in the overall competition of the league, sharing revenue and having kind of an even playing field potentially could make a more interesting league and moving forward. And it feels like things might be trending toward that, where these players, who have been around for a long time, all of a sudden say, hey, wait a minute, we've gone a bridge too far here. We've kind of cut off our nose to spite our face situation where we've we've won in the short term because we got all this money, but what is the long-term health and vitality of our league? It's diminished tremendously with all of this, and you might see, I hope you see an ability to kind of share the wealth, spread the wealth, move it around more to have an overall healthy league, because there is nothing like the NFL. I mean, there's nothing like the NFL as far as its popularity. You get down to the end of a regular season in the NFL, and a majority of the league is still in the hunt. Last year was a little bit, it was a little less of a chaotic situation, but I love when they come out and they list through all the scenarios, like Jacksonville still has a chance if New England loses, but they lose by 4 points, and then this team over here has to win. And so the mathematic probability is still there, and everyone's holding on to that. Well, and it does happen. The craziness has happened in the past where teams have, the scenarios have worked out exactly the way they have to, and teams have made the playoffs. It's also worked the other way. But the point is your team is in it. Most teams are in it at least most of the time. And that's what you like. And some people go, well, losing team makes the playoffs. And you're like, yeah, they do. And then that actually works very well. 83 of the 100 most popular shows on all of any television were football games in the NFL. And a lot of it is because of that parity, because of the broad appeal, because the small markets have been brought along. They have tremendous fan bases. They win Super Bowls. They're in it, and it's huge. And I think everyone's benefited from what's happened in the NFL. Okay, the FIFA has decided, the New York governor says, look, if you want to travel to, or New Jersey's governor, you want to travel to the World Cup, it's going to be $100 on the subway situation. And the governor of New Jersey just said it's because of all of the extra security. It's all this different stuff that's going on, and it's like it's egregious. A normal $12.25 ride to MetLife Stadium is now $100, and I hear this, and of course the ticket prices are absolutely staggering. It's insane. The last time the World Cup was in North America was 1990, so it's been 36 years. It's not something that shows up every year. It's not something that shows up every year, even the event. It's every 4 years. So it's almost like we got to make hay while we can type of situation. And you start seeing these things like bus tickets and $100. My concern with this, what kind of impact does this have long term? Because every time you raise the price of something, it never goes back. It's like we've now set a new standard. People are used to just paying these ridiculous amounts for whatever, and you have to wonder, does it go back to normalcy? Is it just kind of part of this because it's the World Cup, and where is it gonna end when it's over? Now I'm fascinated by this, and I and the ticket prices are insane. Like they're insane. Like they're you got to take out a small mortgage if you're going to really watch this. And I would want to watch this. I would want to actually go to an event. And I'm the type of person where I'll pay some money. I won't pay ridiculous money, but I'll pay some money to go watch an event live. I think it would be unbelievably fascinating to actually do that. I really do. I 1000% think it would be fascinating. And that's kind of my comment. Like, yeah, this sucks. This is egregious. These prices are ridiculous, and yet it's going to be full. like you're going to just see, people are going to show up. They're going to pay it. It's just one of those, the scarcity of it, that it doesn't come around often, that it's the biggest sporting event in the entire world. Billions of people are going to view this event. So yeah, you really just go, I hate it. I don't like it. I don't want to understand what it represents. I don't care. I'm going. Now I'm going to watch it on TV. I'm going to, I'm not going to be this rabid, passionate fan about it, but I'm absolutely going to go. One of the things that I think we're learning in sports is national pride really trumps everything in our world. Like it just does. And sports brings out, I don't want to say the nastiness in us, but it brings out our competitive nature like nothing else. And that's why I think this is so compelling. Now, soccer is very passionate that way as it is. There are teams from certain countries that were eliminated literally because they didn't win. Like, some of these tougher governments, their standard of, hey, you win or you die kind of thing. That's kind of how they roll. So, and it's an outlier, it's not that way, but the fan bases, boy, they are passionate about their teams, which is why we want to tune in. We want to see this. There are going to be teams that probably should win, are expected to win, and they're going to lose, and it's because of this competitive nature of things. But regardless, I'm super excited. I can't believe the words are coming out of my mouth that I'm excited about soccer, but this is different. This is the World Cup, and it's amazing. All right, Tiger Woods is fighting a subpoena for his prescription drug record, and it's, for whatever reason, look, you have these HIPAA violations and laws and all these things. Your information is certainly protected, and you certainly have the right to do that. I think the thing that, if I'm Tiger Woods at this point, it's like, I would do probably everything I possibly could to be contrite, and not that I think he's being arrogant, because I'm sure, he probably doesn't want things to get out as far as, because maybe it's a whole lot worse than we think type of thing. Here's my concern. And it's a real concern because it's happened too often. Think of all the people that, for whatever reason, are taking medication. Matthew Perry, Michael Jordan, or not Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, just some of these, celebrities, high profile individuals who have access to a different type of care. They can find drugs that really help them. And by the way, these drugs that they're taking are phenomenal. They're highly addictive, and they make you feel really good. Now, is that, it's, those things scare me to death. Just so you know, personally, I'm not a drug dealer. There is medication I take. I'm required to take it. It's been it's been remarkable for me. It's not pain medication. As an athlete, I suffered through pain. I never took any of the the oxy kind of drugs, and I had Toradol shots. They were good, and you might argue there's something there, but always been really nervous of drugs. But with Tiger, he's in a situation where, man, he really needs some help. He really does, and it's okay. It's really okay. But I just get worried that no one's saying that to him. Everyone's just like, and I don't think anyone said anything to these other people, and it ended up costing them their lives. Even Whitney Houston. I mean, I think of even more people here. And it's sad, and it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have to happen. And somebody needs to be the adult in the room and just say, you got to get a handle on this, buddy. And you need to turn it around. So just, like, don't fight the system. Figure out how to, get your situation turned around. And that to me is absolutely 100% top of discussion, top of the story of actually what should be happening here. And, like, there should be no fight right now. And so I just really, I want things to work out well for Tiger. He's been this incredible figure, for, he's he's a lifetime type of talent, that will be talked about for years. And you just don't want to talk about it like life was too short, and it was just too much. So we're all human. We all have our challenges and our failures and our misfortunes. Find some humility and find a place to get better. Okay, Kawhi Leonard kind of is mum on his future with the Clippers, and kind of where he's going to be, what's he what's he going to do, um, you know, um, with with what's going on in his career and everything that's actually going on. So of course everyone's like, he's like, look, man, just let me cry a little bit about losing, before we kind of get on to the future with the Clippers and all this stuff. And we'll see where everything goes. So who knows? He's eligible to extend his contract for 2 more seasons, which really puts him at a big, big paycheck. But he's kind of like, yeah, where the team is, what's going on, what's happening with everything is, kind of it's kind of, it's up in the air. And you're and maybe look, as an athlete, we've talked about these situations where, do players really care about the play-in situation? Do they care about, or do they just, it's just all about all the money and all of these things? And I really think the players actually do care. I think they care all the time. I think Kawhi Leonard cares. He's such a polarizing individual because he was so, like, wins a championship with the Toronto Raptors, and and he's been this phenomenal player in the NBA, but injuries have just really sidelined him in a huge way, derailed a lot of, where maybe some of that greatness. That's got to be a frustration, I'm sure. I have a hard time, and I don't understand the length of an NBA basketball season. So, because I have a hard time why these guys don't play, and they seem to not play for a long stretch of time. I mean, I look at Larry Markkinen with the Utah Jazz, and I'm like, man, this poor guy, he's right in the prime of his career. Utah's right in the middle of this painful rebuild, and and he's getting paid just to kind of sit around. And it just, I don't know, it just feels like you're wasting so much in that situation. And yet they play 82 games a year. And it's like, if I play 50 games a year, 60 games, that's a lot. It's just a lot. And so maybe I'm overreacting to these players, sitting, or playing part of the game, so you're playing in a lot of games, but maybe not as many minutes as you normally would. I'd be fascinated to know how long that actually extends your career. So it's like, maybe a guy like Laurie just goes, look, because I'm playing less toll on my body. They come out of this rebuild, and I'm part of the whole situation, and then we're competitive, and we get into playing later on, and I have that extended time on my career. Maybe it's all a wash, and it's okay. But just these situations where players, I just think players are competitive. That's really what I think. I think they're competitive. I think all they want to do is win. I do know that money is a part of it, and I know every player wants to get paid a lot of money. I really believe if money was not there, like if it wasn't an option, like nobody knew about it, I think the players would still go out and play these games, and I think they play as competitive and as hard as they possibly could. In some ways, maybe even more, because they're just out there, and I really believe there's a love for the game, and it may show up in different ways. People's frustration with certain things outside of the games may flare up, but I think at the soul of every player who's ever made it, right, in the league, in any league, they go, my drive, my desire, my competitiveness was the reason I got here. It's the reason that kept me here. It's the reason that compels me to play well. And it's not about money, and it's not about situation. I think there's frustration that happens, but by all means, these players are absolutely 100% like, yeah, I'm in. I'm in no matter what, and I want to win. So there's absolutely not one thing that that happens will take away my drive. Now I think I shouldn't say that. I think players can get distracted. I think they can get, whether it's drugs, whether it's kind of the people you hang out with. There are things, but I think overall players love to play. Okay, this was an interesting thing. Jair Alexander kind of opens up a little bit about his time in the NFL and kind of, he was very productive cornerback with the Green Bay Packers, goes to Baltimore and really hardly plays, and then of course goes to the Giants and just kind of, or not the Giants, but the Eagles, and they essentially, let him go. But he opened up about his time and what was actually happening in his career. And he says, as much as I love Baltimore, I didn't love the position I was in. I had a bunch of internal battles with myself. I didn't have the confidence with my abilities I once had. At corner, you need ultimate and you do, boy, because corner and quarterback are kind of a similar thing. You can't hide. You can't hide in the interior line, and you're out on an island, and everyone sees if you get beat or not. And so you absolutely have to have that, ultimate confidence. And he just said, I felt like it was slipping away, and it was just kind of, he had to make this decision about his life, and he just had to step away from football, and he's just like, football is a gladiator sport, and once your confidence is gone, it's just time to hang it up. I remember a guy named Eric Sievers, and he was a tight end who played with the San Diego Chargers. Eric Coryell, of course, he was a backup tight end, but he played, and he was a productive player in the NFL, good tight end. But he backed up Kellen Winslow at the Chargers, and then he went on to play for the New England Patriots, and he'd come to Miami, and it was early on in my career, and he talked about the quarterback. I think it was Tony Eason who had taken the team to a Super Bowl in '85, and he was part of that team. And I was like, man, what, that guy, he's Super Bowl, played really well. I'm surprised that he's not still playing at that level. And Eric Sievers said, and I'll never forget this, he said, look, he lost his edge. Tony Eason, he says he lost his nerve. Like he didn't have the courage to throw the ball with confidence down the field in those tight windows. Like you talk about being a gladiator, and you talk about, having nerves of steel, and just, and it was literally like the Top Gun thing, Maverick has lost his edge. He's lost his nerve, and it's like, he's get him out of there, get him out of that airplane, because it's not going to work. And for Jair Alexander to actually see that, it is pretty, like, it's pretty mature, quite frankly, and pretty maybe rare. Maybe there's more of it that happens in today's sports, but in past eras, like, this is stuff you never talked about. You never, you suffered through a lot of it. You have to wonder if there's there's an acceleration of the mental health issues with CTE and concussions and issues. And you can, I think if you couple, drug abuse, like recreational drugs, alcohol, you have mental health issues, and you have, concussion issues, you put all those things together, like, that's a perfect storm. That is a disaster waiting to happen. And I know it has happened. It does happen. But I just, can commend him for actually speaking out about it and talking about it, and just realizing, it's a real thing, and it's something that I have to battle with. So, hopefully, because I know, any challenge I had as a player, like, I wasn't telling anyone, and I suffered through, and there's a lot of resources available to help players, which is good, which is really good. All right. What's really, I don't know if it's good or not, but we're going to take a break. But the good thing is we're going to come back. So we just take a little break. We come back, and life is good. So stick around. The NFL News of Notes is actually right around the corner. You don't want to miss it when the Down and Dirty returns.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back Down and Dirty. Scotty Mitchell here, solo today. We've got some NFL news of notes happening right now. Of course, it's something we do often on the show. And when I say often, it's every day. And we do it every day simply because it's happening every day. NFL news and noteworthy news is always happening 365, 24/7. It's amazing. Okay. So we cover it, we talk about it, and we like it because we love the NFL along with everyone else. All right, it has begun. The NFL is onboarding potential replacement officials. Now, this happened before. It was disastrous. It was not good. I think the NFL said, look, well, they've said a couple of things. First of all, they've said, it was bad last time. Why was it bad? There probably wasn't enough training time. I think that's part of this early onboarding process is like, okay, we're going to bust them in, bring on the officials, find them wherever you can. And you have to believe that there are officials out there going, yeah, I'll take my shot at the NFL. Are you kidding? I'll be, sign me up. Where do I sign? Now, the NFL officials are like, we hate you. You'll never be a regular official in the NFL. You're a scab, and we're going to make you pay for it because that's how we do it in this country. That's what happened with NFL free agency. There were scabs that crossed the picket line, and folks weren't happy with them. And the players are like, man, I got to eat. Like, I need a paycheck, and I appreciate you dying on a sword here, but it's not one I'm willing to die on. So a tough position to be in, but regardless, so one side of it is the NFL officials going, look, or the NFL, I mean, just the league in general. And they just say, we are actually going to, we need to be prepared, right? We can't get caught with our pants. Now they've created rules this year that actually supplement the officials if they get it wrong. So teams are like, okay, my career, my legacy, I don't want it in the hands of some guy who doesn't know what the heck he's doing. And I'm sure the league said, yeah, right, fair point. So we're gonna supplement it, and we're gonna actually go, yeah, you all missed that one. Let's change it. Bonehead, whatever. And which I think will be good, and it'll be good in a lot of sense because I think it will help the officiating to feel more confident and know that, look, I got someone's got my back on this one. Now, I think it was a bad thing, like in college football, where especially in the Pac-12, they had to call these penalties on targeting, right? And I think they just called them so egregiously because they knew that someone was going to review it anyways. So they just felt it was better to call it, be safe, call more of them, and then they can review it. So there's no really, an assessment from an official, like he sees something, goes, no, that's definitely targeting. And he calls it. He says, yeah, maybe it might be. I don't know. Who cares? I'll throw the flag because it's not up to me to determine it anyways. And so you see more and more of those calls. And you may see that with these replacement officials where they go, and maybe they're just throwing it every down, holding, because we all know that there's holding on every play, especially if you're a defensive player. It's like, I'm always getting held, type of thing. You may see that, and that may be a bad thing, but ultimately it might be a good thing in that they're going to get a lot of these plays right because they're going to look at them and just say, yeah, you missed that call there. So I think it should give them at least a working situation, get them in early, get them as much training as you possibly can, have the kind of the golden parachute, lurking in the background when they screw up. But I also think there's another side to this, and that is the NFL goes, yeah, fine, the officials. Like, you really think you have the power? You all get personalities. Everyone wants to be Ed Hockley. Everyone wants to be Red Cash and first down. They want to be remembered, right? And so all of a sudden the officials getting real cocky because they're like, we're part of the NFL. And the NFL said, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're just like kickers. You're like, we tolerate you, but you're not the game. You're not the attraction. You're not all of these things. You're just a necessary evil. So we hold all the cards, and you all can think what you want. You can have all the power that you want, but unless you do it our way, the Shield is all powerful, and it has all the leverage, and they will squeeze the leverage right out of you. So that's part of it. It's like, fine, you don't want to officiate? We'll go get other officials. You're all replaceable. And now, and I think the officials maybe are banking on the disaster that happened in the past. Regardless, really what should happen, I think, officials should just be part of the National Football League. Like, it's not a side gig you do for a few months out of the year. Like, it's your official job, and that there's an off-season training evaluation. There's a because officiating is one of those things that could like blow up the NFL like nothing else, where officials are in the back pockets of gamblers or who knows, whatever there is. And that's really the one thing. And you don't want that. You just absolutely do not want that. Okay. Moving on from our next NFL news of note, we have the Giants are kind of in a stall mode with a really good defensive player, Dexter Lawrence. And they've just kind of reached an impasse about his contract. And they are now entertaining the possibility, of course, with the draft coming up, of trading Dexter this season. And it's a again, going back to the Shield and going back to negotiation, it's always a fine line about a contract. And it's really challenging. Herman and I talked about this the other day. I like the idea of just getting paid for performance. It's one of those things. It's like when you build a sales team, right? And people get into sales because their potential income is unlimited. Now, in return for that, they also don't get any compensation. So you're only going to make money when you make sales. So you're 100% commission based. But your income potential is unlimited. You can make as much money as you want. And we, because of this nature, kind of can limit your activity. Like, we can't demand certain things from you. Like, we can't say you have to be in the facility in the off season. We can't say you have to be at a certain weight, or you have to watch so much film. We can't put in all these little clauses. We can't control your activity. We can't say to you, you have to show up and be on time at work, and you have to show up for training camp. You have to do all these things. You have to talk to the media. You have to, so if you had an independent contracting nature, which is what professional golf is, imagine, I think every player would actually welcome this, because every player goes, I'm freaking awesome, and I'll show you my worth and my value to this team by how I play. And the teams just go, and maybe there's a standard, there's a way to just say, if you play X number of games, and if you play at this level, the team wins, you get, you have, high level of production, here's the standard for your position, and you get paid this. I think they should do it for everyone. I think the game would be better. I think, but right now they don't. Like, they have a budget, and they have to go, we can only pay this much for this player, this much for this situation. We're going to put a premium on left tackles, on, shut down corners, on quarterbacks. Now maybe a wide receiver gets some bonus, whatever. A really good edge rusher is a high priority. Really good defensive lineman in general is a high priority these days. So that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, it's a leverage game, and it's just like, who has the leverage? If you're a great player, for one, you don't want to be Saquon Barkley and go, yeah, you had to make a choice, and running back was not a priority for you, so I'm out. And then all of a sudden everyone goes, man, the New York Giants are stupid. Like, what are they thinking? How did they miss this guy? Type of thing. So it's always fascinating to me when negotiations get into an impasse. Now, here's the reality of these things. Everything happens in the NFL at the last minute. They play this game of chicken where they go, okay, I'm not budging. It's the same thing with the officials. It's the same thing with Dexter Lawrence here. With most players, they just go, yeah, how long are you willing to hold out on this? And I'm sure these NFL officials are going, shoot, man, I got replacement guys for us. We're screwed. And it's like, no, guys, hold the line. Hold the line. They got to have us. It takes, how hard it was to get into this league and to be a competent official. They can't just overnight bring in guys and do this. There's no way. Hold the line, boys. Hold the line. And they go, I can't hold it any longer. It's April. I can't hold it. It's like, dude, the season doesn't start till September. Everyone go chill. And that's what'll happen. Just so you know, they'll go through this whole song and dance. They'll do this whole thing. Dexter Lawrence, his people, they'll do their song and dance, and the Giants will do their song and dance. Well, you just can't pay, you can't do all this stuff. And then they get into training camp. And it'll probably go right to the end of training camp. It might go a game into the season. Hold the line, boys. Hold the line. And that's what you got to do. The NFL, they like to bully you because they can, and they're gonna, and they have all the leverage, and they do. So just try to find a way so that you can get what you want. Now, if you have the leverage, squeeze. If you're the great player, squeeze. Do all of those things. All right. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Football Raiders. Is it only the football giants? Are they the only the team that actually is called that? I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? But we do know that John Spytek from the Raiders in Las Vegas has been receiving inquiries about trading the number 1 pick. Now, why do we know this? Like, why is this come out in the news? Why are they saying this? Why do they have to say this? And these are some of the fascinating, is it a story? Is it not a story type of moments? Because someone let this out. Maybe it was the Raiders. And maybe it's the Raiders. Think of it's like right now there's negotiations going on between the Iranians and the US for a ceasefire. And someone leaks it out. It's like the meetings we're having discussion, or someone from the other side, like you're trying to negotiate, you're trying to communicate. So they'll put out some kind of statement. We would be amenable to having a conversation. And they don't want it to look like, man, we're screwed. Like we got to talk kind of thing. But someone puts out some kind of message, whether it's cryptic, whether it's whatever. So here in the news, we get this message that the Raiders have been receiving phone calls about the possibility of trading the number 1 pick. Now, it could be other teams. It could be the Raiders. It could be someone out there. And they could be doing it because so let's just say it's the Raiders. Let's say the Raiders are doing this. Why would the Raiders do this? When you're picking number 1, there is a guy. There is the guy in the draft. The guy. And you go, we got to have him. Like, we're not going to find this guy. We may not be in the same position for 15 years, but we could have a player at this position for the next 15 years. And the impact it would have on our organization over the next 15 years we can't quantify it. We don't know what what was the impact of Peyton Manning on the Colts? What was the impact of John Elway on the Denver Broncos? Elway's influence was, probably still there. And so you're going, yeah, but based on who we're picking, Fernando Mendoza, is he really the guy? And if they don't really feel all warm and fuzzy, and if they're having second thoughts, if it's just like, this is a no-brainer, this is like, who are we kidding kind of thing. And so maybe they're just back channel kind of throwing it out there because they don't necessarily want Fernando Mendoza to know it. They don't want, their fan base to know it. And they can always say, well, it came from outside. Someone called us and like, we're not out there. We're not out calling people. But there's a message that's being sent right now. We don't know really who is it from and what does it mean, but it could mean that they're not sure. And if they're not sure, then, hey, what could we get? Because you get the number 1 pick, maybe you get a number 1 next year from a team, and then you get that team's number 1 this year. So you get a 2-for-1. And that's not all bad. And especially if you don't feel like the player available to you is that guy that's going to be around for the next 15 years. And I don't know if he is or he isn't, because everything about Fernando Mendoza is about, it's not about his talent. It's not about this guy has elite talent. He's got an elite arm. It's about he's a winner, right? And that's what, and so everyone's been like, Tim Tebow was a winner, but he wasn't a great NFL quarterback. And does Fernando Mendoza, and because part of where I have angst, and that's my angst, is like, it's phenomenal. Loved him. I loved his whole story. I loved watching him. He was incredible. But Joe Burrow, to me, when he was at LSU, that's a no-brainer. That's like, are you kidding? Don't even talk to us. And it's that kind of talent. It's not even questioned, the talent along with the leadership, because there's been question where Fernando, like, he's going to sit, and yeah, they brought in Kirk Cousins to be a mentor, which I thought was a great move, but it's also, we also want our organization to get off on a good foot here, because we've been on a bad foot for a long time. So if we got a guy that can come in and help us win now, stabilize the ship right now, then we'll kind of evaluate and see where we are. I really I was a guy that was like, these guys need to sit and wait. And I just think the guys that don't, they threw in Burrow early, they threw in Peyton Manning early. I think a lot of these guys getting thrown in early actually ultimately helps them at the end of the day. Troy Aikman, man, got the trash kicked out of him his rookie year. It was just horrible. But it was a galvanizing thing for him, and it gave him kind of that grit, that toughness that I think was part of what propelled him to be great. So I certainly think there's something going on. Now, it could be other teams trying to, flesh things out, just see, are the Raiders really serious about this? Maybe someone else is sending the message and they're kind of throwing out an olive branch where it doesn't have to come from the Raiders. Who knows? But to throw stuff out, and there's all kinds of misinformation that comes out with the draft, and teams are trying to manipulate situations, and they could be manipulating situations from other teams to get those teams to kind of move up a spot or change or try to do something because it's all about you hear these stories like Patrick Mahomes and how the Chiefs jumped up a spot to get him, and a lot of teams were looking at him, and they were the ones that pulled the trigger, made the move. And so you're kind of jockeying, because there's a player that you really like in the draft, and if you can manipulate yourself into a spot where you can get that player, or you're assured to get that player, then you do it, and it happens all the time. It's fascinating. I think it's one of the more compelling parts of the NFL draft is trying to subterfuge and do all these nefarious things to get the player you want, which shows you how competitive it actually is. Anyways, it's out there, it's happening. The draft is shortly coming. I think everyone was like, no, Fernando Mendoza definitely is number one, but maybe not. All right, we're gonna take another break. We come back, we got a fun game to play. Would you rather, which I love Martin's games. I'm so happy that I have the potential to get a gold star. Can't wait. Down and Dirty. We'll be right back.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
At Matt Piffle, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mappiffle.com and start celebrating your story today.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell. Man, I'm pumped up today. I don't know why. I'm on very little sleep, but that's how we roll. I'll crash and burn later. Maybe I'll crash and burn right now. Joining the program is none other than Martin Kelly with his what is that, the Blackhawks? Chicago Blackhawks?
Yep. Chicago Blackhawks hat right there for you.
The White Sox, the Blackhawks, you got the Cubs, you got the Bears. You got the Bulls and the Bears. Got the Bulls and the Bears.
Most of those teams, I don't root for the Northsiders, but they could be mentioned. They have to get a little bit of a credit.
Yeah, you don't go north of anywhere for any sports, like including any sport in Wisconsin. We don't go to Wisconsin. Yeah, we're not going to go to the cheeseheads in Wisconsin. How come you don't have a Midwest accent?
How come I don't?
No, you don't have that. Yeah.
Well, one, I didn't grow up in that type of area. Two, growing up in the city.
Wait, what area? Oh, so city people don't have the Wisconsin.
No,
Chicago.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
Wisconsin people grew up with that, outside agricultural attitude and
Oh,
philosophy,
you're
and
calling them
that's
a
how
bunch
I
of
grew
rednecks.
into
That's
their
what you're
style.
saying. That people from Wisconsin are rednecks. I don't agree with your analysis there, Ed. I
No,
think we have a homicide on our case here. I think this is a murder.
I mean, for us in Chicago, once we drive outside the city and everything's just flat, we kind of think that about every direction. Really, it doesn't matter if it's state of Illinois or state of Wisconsin. We kind of
Okay,
think that. Period.
have you? I know you're paying attention to the show. I gave you some
Yeah,
homework. Did you look up cold fusion?
yeah,
What? Tell
it's
me,
a real thing.
it's a real thing. Okay.
Yeah, of
And
course it is.
do they make nuclear bombs out of cold fusion now? Is that
Yeah, well, at cold fusion, from my understanding, from what I read, cold and hot fusion happen in a nuclear reactor.
oh?
So, yeah, it's kind of just a thing that happens with nuclear reactors. But yeah, cold fusion is a real thing, dude.
So here's what I love about Martin. Okay, I really do. I really appreciate this. It's like, did you go and look up cold fusion? And he's like, of course I did. Like, why are you even asking the question? And so nonchalantly, like, yeah. And then he goes, well, let me tell you about it. Cold and hot fusion happen at the same time. It's like a freaking encyclopedia. It's amazing. You ever
I
watch?
try
You
my
ever?
best. I try my
Are
best,
you a
mister.
savant? Are you like Rain Man? Like you just know everything? Did you
No,
ever
I
see
wouldn't
Rain
say
Man?
that. I mean, no, I wouldn't say that. I just enjoy knowledge. I enjoy history. I don't know. It was just something I was attracted to when I was a kid.
Well, you have a game for us today.
Yes, I do.
Please explain the game, and I look forward to the potential of a gold star.
Yeah, so it's a would you rather game here, and it's a would you rather scenario for Scott. He gets to either choose A or B, a part of the scenario,
Ooh.
and he gets credit for every answer. There's no wrong answer. Everyone gets to go home with a gold star on their forehead.
Yeah,
But
baby.
the goal is to get one and then put it on the fridge and brag about it later to everyone else in the house.
Mm.
Scott, are you ready?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All
Bring
right,
it on.
so let's go after the first question here. Would you rather win the Masters or the Super Bowl?
Oh man. Okay, this is a hard one. So my whole life was about winning a Super Bowl, and I have to say it's winning a Super Bowl. But here's the thing about that would make me not say winning a Super Bowl. Like the Masters is for life. Like you get to go back to the Masters as a past champion, and sure you can go back to the Super Bowl, but you're on your own dime. It's not like they bring you back. It's not like they go, hey, he's a past champion. We're gonna have a champions dinner. We're gonna do all this stuff. We're gonna they don't. They don't get you're kind of one and done or two or what however many Super Bowls, but it's not a now it's a lifetime thing for you. And you walk
Mhm.
around with a ring and you go, yeah, Super Bowl champ, that's what we were. And that would be a heck of a thing to be able to say. But it wouldn't it's just the Masters, there is nothing like it at all. And it's so prestigious. If I'm you know what, screw the NFL and they're not bringing back and not having a champions dinner. I'm going with the Masters. That's down and dirty right there. I would say the Masters.
That'd be a cool thing for the NFL to do. I don't know if it would be like a Champions dinner, but what if they got all the Super Bowl MVPs together and did like a dinner for them or something like that?
They could get everyone together. They could have a big
They probably
banquet,
could.
you know?
They probably could. I get
That's
that.
what you do when you retire. You go to all the banquets. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Let's keep going here. Would you like to see the NFL move the NFL draft up to March or keep it in April?
With everything that they know on players, they have a really good analysis on things. I think they spread it out to kind of deal with free agency, to do all these things. So I don't, I like the buzz and the build up. You get all these mock drafts, you get all this jockeying, you get all this. I'm totally fine. I just keep it in April. I think it's a good tradition. I think it's good spacing. It kind of, March is kind of the beginning of the league year. It's free agency. Then you get into the end of April. It's the draft. Then you get into a lot of, kind of OTAs and what is the fallout from all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, the season's starting. So I like where it is in April. I like the spacing of it. Man, I don't see any reason to change it. So I'm good with that.
All right, Scott, I got a big one here for you. We're gonna have a little
Big one.
conversation with this one, okay?
Ooh,
All right.
all right.
Would you rather see the NFL continue the NFL Hall of Fame or disband it? Now, hear me out, okay? Hear me out.
Okay.
All right. So here's why I'm saying this: is that every team always says, "Oh, well, this player is a Hall of Famer. This player should be in the Hall of Fame. This player should be in the Hall of Fame." And of course, we all know in all sports that's not the case. It's based on popularity with the media or with the players or how well your career was, accolades, all that type of stuff, right? So, what I love about what teams do is that they retire numbers or there's a ring of honor or there's like a little Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So, I believe the NFL should just disband the Hall of Fame and just let teams decide who's into their own, versions of Hall of Fames. The Detroit Lions have a Hall of Fame or the Bears or whoever. I think teams should be doing it rather than the whole league. Do you
I
think
know
I'm
a
right
lot
or
of
wrong?
teams, a lot of players go, I that means a whole lot more to me. I mean, it always means a lot to a player to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's no debate about that. But it is massively subjective. And it's one of those things where I got in a conversation with, what is a bad team? It's a bad team is like the players are, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of good players there, but the coach, the organization kind of let a player down, didn't create an environment for that player to really flourish and see their full potential. And then you have guys, and I'm not crazy about it, who've had these short careers and all of a sudden they make it in the Hall of Fame. Because and a lot of the logic is, well, if you projected their career out a longer time, well, that there's no proof that they're going to continue at that high level, even if they, maybe they don't, maybe they, talent wise, they fall off, because that certainly has happened in the past. And that's the problem, is there's so much subjective nature. There's so many different factors that go into careers, success, longevity. I just know from playing in the NFL that if you play, you're good, right? You're really good. Like you're some of the best, regardless of what success you have. You're still a really good player, and to really freeze out a lot of guys and to make it this ultra boys club, and I think is a little disingenuous. And I think some of these players, like, let's just take Dan Marino, because I always talk about Dan Marino. I don't know why, but I do. He was tremendously good, but he also was had the benefit of being in the same system. He had a coach that really was willing to, put him in the same thing, and his career was, I think, maximized to its fullest potential because of where he played, and other players maybe not. I'll tell you a guy who's tremendously talented, who gets a bum rap, is Vinny Testaverde. Vinny Testaverde played a long time in the NFL, but everyone said he went to Tampa, and I think they all looked at him and said he was a bust. And he bounced around the league and played well in a lot of situations. You look at his career statistics; they're extremely impressive. But I don't think anyone even remotely goes, "Oh, well, Vinny Testaverde is a Hall of Famer." And Vinny Testaverde in the right situation might have very easily been a Hall of Famer situation. I mean, I always use the example of Steve Young as well, from the quarterback perspective. Steve Young stays with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is not a Hall of Famer, not even close, and so he benefits from it. And so when you talk about, well, who belongs and who doesn't, it's like it's really hard to say that because of circumstance, and there's a lot of merit to this, and quite frankly, and I love listening to the stories of when they're inducted, like their path. They're so personal and they're so inspiring. They're all just great stories, and I love that side of it. But there's a lot of guys I think in the Hall of Fame shouldn't be, and there's a lot of guys that aren't that probably should be. So get rid of the darn thing. Get rid of the game. It's the lamest game in the world. It's really embarrassing to watch Joe Namath get drunk and and just make a fool of himself. Yeah. So just get rid of that whole thing. And I think that people that go back to the Hall of Fame are like, oh man, I got to sit through this whole thing. All these, that's my favorite thing. They're all sitting back there going, oh my goodness, when's this thing going to get over?
See, it's the total opposite of the Masters. People enjoy going back in the Hall of Fame. They're just like, oh, we got to do this again. We
That
gotta be
is
embarrassed again.
okay. That might be one of the most insightful questions you have asked me to date. That was a good question
I
right there.
think so as well.
No,
I think I,
you did good. Cold
I
fusion
think I
boy.
got another one here for you.
All right.
Would you rather see the NFL support the UFL or watch another spring football league fold?
You know,
And by support, I mean like
yeah.
financially or just with marketing. Like, should the NFL get behind these spring football leagues?
I think they should, and I think it's part of what will really help springboard the NFL into a world market. I think they could start with teams like this and kind of grow the league into something more. Because I saw it, they had the World League. I was a part of it. I benefited massively from it. I wasn't the only one. There's a lot of players on both sides of the ball that benefited from the opportunity to play, and just playing is so critical. And to really, it's not only just developing talent, it's not only just broadening. If you did the NFL in the spring, if it was like NFL spring NFL whatever, and you just put NFL on it, and I think it would if you're looking for ways to like actually make more money, I think if it was the NFL that did this, it absolutely would, and it could be it's such a great developmental part of things, but for players, but it's also for ideas. A lot of these ideas that are being implemented in the NFL have come from this spring league, so you can kind of experiment with things and what's the impact and how does that look, without doing wholesale changes in the NFL and having it fail. It's just kind of doing a little bit of laboratory work. So between expansion, between development, between innovation, all of these things, and revenue, you're always looking for, like, why they haven't done it to this day, why they don't just fully support it, is that I don't even understand it. And there's so many, and they talk about, coaches, right? And they talk about coaching opportunities. Well, hello, here's a whole league of ways to actually support it. It's like it's not it's 1000% the NFL should just embrace, promote, and take hold of the spring. When we were in Orlando, we were on television the games were on Saturdays, and we were on television every Saturday. We were out drawing every sport that was shown up in the spring. So there's an audience. And again, it's about a product, it's about a viewable product. But if the NFL gets behind the product, now the other thing that can happen from this, go get high school talent, go get guys, go get guys out of the portal and pay them money, because they're getting paid anyways right now. So if you want to make the league better, it's like the G League almost in the NBA. You could have players that could opt to go and play in this league and develop against better talent. I mean, none of spring football is bad. If they really just understood how to really utilize it, it could be a huge asset to the NFL. And then the NFL really is never, out of business. Like, I'm just telling you, man, spring football, NFL get behind it 1000%. 1000%. All right.
All right. So I was doing a little research here.
Ooh.
So I'm going to set this next question up here. Okay. Would you rather be a cold fusion scientist or a football player?
See, I think you're setting me up right here.
I am setting you up.
I'm sitting back in my chair, showing my double chin. Got my double chin going.
You want to know something? You and cold fusion have something in common.
I know. University of Utah.
Yeah, there you go.
I
In
know, that's why I brought it up.
1989.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Yeah. And so I looked it up. It's a legit thing. So,
yeah.
Let's take you back to 1989. Would you rather be a cold fusion scientist or a football player?
Can you answer it for what's the salary of a cold fusion scientist? Do we know what that is? See, I feel like you're saying, look, I'm going to stick to the knitting. I'm a football player. I've always been a football player. I pretty much came out of the womb carrying a football from the time I left the hospital, and I'll probably be carrying it till the time I die. So I'm gonna stick with the football player. And I may be wrong on this, but oh well. So how much does a cold fusion scientist actually
Oh,
make?
it's a good thing you stuck to football because they make about 60 grand a year.
Oh, yeah.
60 to 80 grand.
Yeah, I ain't doing that. I forget that.
All right, we got one last fun one here. A little bit staying on the scientific side of things. Would you rather visit the bottom of the ocean or the deepest spot in space?
Oh, I'm gonna say the deepest spot in space, only because, man, I think just the journey to get to the deepest spot in space, you probably pass a lot of pretty cool things. Probably a lot more in the ocean. Although I am fascinated with what's at the bottom of the ocean. But yeah, deepest
All
spot.
right.
All right. That's a good one. That might be your best one. Right
That was a good one. You get to have a gold
you just
star.
get 2 gold stars just for. I'm gonna give you 3 today. Now I'm gonna give you.
Hey, I
You're
like that. I
you're
like
a
that.
4-star general right there. There you go, Martin. All right. Hey, that's all the time we have for today. So glad you could join us. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks, Martin, and thanks, Zach, for all you guys do. This is the Down and Dirty. I'm Scott Mitchell. Until then, we'll see you then.